Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Steven here, Northwest Small Batch Brewing. I'm just getting close to the mic because I have my air conditioning going. It's like 95 degrees here today. And so hopefully that noise isn't coming through on the video. Anyway, today's video, I've been talking to a lot of my fellow homebrewers about just to get a gauge of what they think. And it's kind of a mixed bag. But basically the question is, what's going on with New England IPAs? You know, we've got the West Coast IPA, we've got the original India Pale Ale, you've got your hazies, you've got your juicies, right? But what's going on with what we all kind of know as the New England style IPA? So the first thing I want to say is, like, I've noticed that more and more cans are being labeled as hazy or juicy, but in fact they're actually West Coast IPAs. Traditionally in the past, my experience has been, if a can said it was a juicy IPA, that meant it was like a New England style, less bitter, more dry hopped IPA. Same thing if it says juicy. Usually that would mean the same thing, that it's not a bitter like West Coast style. That's more of the, post, fermentation, dry hopped, hop forward beer that's not, bitter. However, that's just not true anymore. What I've been seeing is that you will oftentimes find something that says juicy or hazy, and it will actually be hazy, but for whatever reason, the brewery has also added a crap ton of bittering hops and turned this into basically a West Coast IPA while they're trying to add all these dry hops to make it juicy and hazy. So you don't know what you're getting. It's confusion. And personally, I don't like it. If I want a West Coast IPA, I want to know this is what I'm buying. So the problem is you just don't know what you're getting based on the label. Also, it's getting more and more and more rare, I think, to see the actual label say New England IPA or NEIPA on it. There is still a few that do that. They're not completely gone, but it has become rare. It used to be that you would actually have a can say New England IPA, NEIPA, or West Coast IPA, and you knew what you were buying, at that time. All right. So to get into this, we need to know, where did the New England IPA originate? Well, it obviously originated in New England, right? The northeastern United States, and specifically Vermont. It was the early to mid 2000s, and the name initially came from, the geographic roots of this style of beer. It was like a regional twist on the traditional IPA, except that it was developed in New England breweries, right? So who actually created the New England IPA? Now, I know all you big-time brewers and beer fanatics already know the answer to this, but maybe there's somebody watching that doesn't. So there is a brewer, and I'll probably pronounce his name wrong, John Kimmich, I believe that's how you pronounce it, at the Alchemist Brewery. All right, the Alchemist Brewery is in the aforementioned Vermont. Now, John Kimmich is widely credited as the originator of this style of beer, the New England IPA. It was first brewed, released around 2003, 2004, and it was called Heady Topper. Now, according to Beersmith, this beer is considered the prototype first New England IPA. It's the one beer that defined the style's characteristics: hazy, juicy, and low bitterness. All right. So what made it different, right? How did this become a new style? At that time, most IPAs were clear, bitter, and piney or resinous, kind of like, as we say today, your traditional West Coast style IPA. There wasn't this newer version. John Kimmich's approach flipped that, basically. So it didn't filter, first of all. When he made this beer, unfiltered, so it left it very hazy. He focused more on late hopping and dry hopping, emphasized more fruit-forward hops like mango and citrus and tropical. Reduced bitterness, so instead of having all the bittering hops up front, just a lot of dry hops that don't have the bitterness, which created this nice, soft, pillowy mouthfeel. This was so different that it basically broke the old IPA rules and formed a new category, New England IPA. Really, Heady Topper gained a huge cult following, and then other New England breweries started to pick it up. Right, Hill Farmstead started to make a New England IPA. Treehouse, of course, makes a New England IPA. Trillium makes a New England IPA. So that by the mid 2010s, this style of beer just exploded nationally and then globally. It has become one of the most influential beer styles of the past like 20 years, really. And that's according to Brewery Bible, if you want to look that up. But it really has become very influential. So here's my thought. Okay, I think that this style of beer is always changing. It's always changing and morphing into something different, and that's good, and it can be bad. It's good because you're always getting something new or a different version of it. What's bad is that if you like it a particular way, you may have a hard time finding it. And this is not to boast, but I really feel like that the hazy IPA, the New England style IPA that I personally brew, is better than anything I've ever bought. And part of that is because the fresher it is, really the better it is. And you can't get any fresher than your own homebrew. That being said, things are changing, right? And that's why you're seeing, I think there is a huge change in interest here. I think people really love bitter IPAs, like the West Coast style IPAs. And what the change is, like I said at the beginning of this video, is that you're getting more of the juicy and haziness added into a traditionally bitter IPA, which means that you could get a lot of juiciness and a lot of that dry hop flavor, followed by some really dank, resinous, bitter notes, right? It's not my thing. And I guess the biggest problem I have with all of this is that I want to be able to, as a consumer, decide or look at a can and go, yep, I want to try this beer because I like that style, or say, nope, I already know I don't care for this style. The problem is you don't know, because these days all it's going to say is, oh, well, this is an IPA or a double IPA or a triple IPA, or it doesn't say that it's West Coast or not. The only way, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, unless there's an easier way to do this, but I think the only way is to really know your hops. And if you look at a beer and it gives you the hops, which it doesn't always, you can sometimes tell by what hops are in it whether it's going to be more of a West Coasty or not, because of the style of hops. Anyway, I thought I had one left, but I don't. Here in Portland, I tried what is considered widely to be the best New England IPA on the West Coast, or at least in my area. Great Notion makes a hazy IPA that's really good. Is it the best I've ever had? I don't think so. Again, I hate to say it, but it's not as good as the one I make personally. But I was really on the lookout, and I've been on the lookout for a really milky, juicy, milkshakey type of New England IPA. And you can't get them out here on the West Coast. And I did not see anything like that too much. I got one that was pretty close at HomebrewCon area in Asheville, but it lacked a lot of flavor and aroma that just left it kind of, not what I was looking for. So anyway, while I was there, the legendary Gnome Brewing brought down a can of Heady Topper from The Alchemist, the original New England IPA. And I want to go grab it, and we're going to take a look at it and taste it, and we'll see what we think. All right, guys, sorry, I had to pour it a little ahead of time because I wanted to get a picture of it, and I only had the one can. So there we go, Heady Topper. Not a ton of aroma off of it to begin with. It says to drink it from the can, but I really wanted to see it. You know what I mean? I was going to tell you the other thing is, so it's 8%, by the way, which is a little high, I think, for just a standard New England IPA. Also, it does not say New England IPA anywhere on the cans. So it makes me wonder if they actually coined that term for that style or not. Was good head retention. It's been sitting here. It didn't stick around too long. It is absolutely hazy, but it's not that light. It's actually a little darker than I expected. It's not like what I see today in what you would think of as a really perfect New England IPA. I'm not getting a lot of, tropical aroma or anything. I don't know what kind of hops are in this, to be honest. I could probably look it up, and I'm sure people have figured it out if they haven't actually disclosed it. I was just looking on the can to see if I could see. There's a lot of directions from John Kimmich on how to drink this and whatnot, and I'm a big fan of, drink what you want to drink, how you like to drink it, the way you like to drink it. So I don't like to be told how to do that. But anyway, yeah. Anyway, I suppose it does smell more resinous and piney. I'm not really getting tropical notes or anything. All right, let me give it a try. It's exactly like my fellow homebrewers described it. There's an interesting flavor on it, though. This might take me a second. It is pretty bitter. This really tastes, and I was told this already, but I wanted to try it for myself. This really tastes like a West Coast IPA. This is the only reason you might say it's different or is like New England IPA is because it's hazy. It's not been filtered at all, and you can tell it's been dry hopped, obviously, but there's a very long bitter finish, similar to what you get on most West Coast IPAs. I don't know. I almost feel like there's like a vanilla flavor or something coming through. Like, I can't describe it, but I will say it's very, very bitter. I mean, this is basically what except for the haziness, this is what I would expect to get from a West Coast IPA. There isn't any of the fruity, less bitterness that you get so this is a perfect example of what I was saying, that the IPA just is in this constant flux of changing and being altered and adjusted. If this is the original New England IPA, it doesn't match what we see today and think of as a New England IPA. This is the only difference is it's hazy, and it doesn't taste different to me than a West Coast IPA. So obviously at some point that changed. I wonder if we could narrow down what brewery or what brewer decided to stop adding so many bittering hops in order to bring up the juiciness and the haziness. Let me know in the comments if you know, if there's a defining point where a brewery decided, I'm going to make this beer, but I'm going to remove like a lot of the bittering hops from it and put in more tropical hops for dry hopping. Because that would be a change from this traditional New England IPA to what we think of it as of today. Yeah, I guess all you can do is try different beers, and when you find one that is what you consider the juicy, hazy New England IPA, you got to remember which ones they are so you can get those. Anyway, that's that. I wouldn't buy this beer again. It's way more bitter than you would think if you haven't had it. Now on the West Coast here, you can't buy this, so this is cool to have a chance to try it. I will finish this off air here, and I will be back Sunday for my live stream. Stay tuned for that. And other than that, I will see if I can get some of my full brew days edited. Those are just taking me forever. I apologize. I'll get on it. See you soon. Cheers, and keep on brewing.